go live like it just did. Hey, welcome to Living Courageously Exposed, the March 5th, 2025 edition. You're with your host, Jennifer Saunders, and oh my gosh, I have a cool guest for you today. Now, like lots of our guests, I actually just met her 3 minutes ago in person. I have overheard some calls and her voice, and I know a little bit about her, and I'm excited to share her with you here in just a minute. By our little housekeeping stuff today, I don't know that there is any other than if you haven't watched our episodes, you can find those on The Righteous Rebels YouTube channel. You can go to The Righteous Rebels Facebook group, join that group. We would love to have you be a part of the family. And then they're also over on Spotify at Living Courageously Exposed. You can let's see. We'll talk about books later, and man, I think that's all the housekeeping. So if you're new to our program, this is a program of interviewing people and showing how to normalize humanity and our humanness by living courageously exposed. It's a program of sharing stories and real life adventures, and we let inspiration be the guide. There's no questions that are scripted. It's all from the heart. It's about opening the doors for you to do the same and to live authentically and courageously and to just get out there and live a life. So, okay, that felt a little clunky. I'm really trying to just figure that out because it's new. And so there you go. That's called being human. So we also love to start with just a little bit of breathing, just as a way to model for you and give you a quick tool to let go of everything that's already happened in the day, to let go of everything that you think is going to happen in the day, and to just be right here, right now, in the present moment, where you can let your head and your heart and your gut come into this beautiful coherence. We do this on purpose because it's funny now. And really be present with us inside of this conversation and lend to inspiration being the guide. So today I didn't think about breathing. Let's just do simple downward gaze or closed eyes. Let's do box breathing today, which it will be a breathing in through your nose for a 4 to 6 count, whatever feels good for you. Breathing it all the way through your chest, through your rib cage, all the way down into your tailbone, your sit bones, holding that breath for the same count, releasing through your mouth for the same count, and then holding the exhale for the same count. We'll do like 3 sets of that. Today, as we breathe in, if you would like to breathe in higher energy, maybe breathe in something that you're in creation of, or just breathing in good, yummy vibes, I'd invite you to do that. Feel what it feels like. Really feel what that feels like in your body. And as you release, let go of any like stressful or depressive or suppressive or lower vibe, lower energy that you got hanging on. Release that with your breath. And as you're holding it, really feel what that feels like. And then repeat the pattern. So I'll do it with you. Downward gaze or closed eyes. Taking that first breath in through your nose. Feeling it as deep as you can get it, and then holding that breath. Releasing through your mouth, getting as much air out as you can. Holding that exhale for the same count. And then repeat for 2 rounds on your own. Oh, finish up your own set right there. And while you're doing that, I'm going to head on over, make sure we're good on this channel. Oh my gosh, how does that feel? Did you notice a difference? Did you by chance notice or feel a calming? Were you able to maybe feel how your clothes sit on your body? Did you feel yourself maybe sitting or feeling the chair that you're sitting in? Or maybe it's a comfy couch. I don't know. For me, I can, under my feet, I can feel the bars of the chair that my feet are resting on. I felt them more. I could actually feel the coolness of them. So I love that feeling of just feeling things just go and settle in, because I get excited about this stuff. And it just gives me a moment to just whoo, and really bring that excitement into me in a way that I'm not like just all the words out and you have no idea what I'm saying. So this is a beautiful, simple tool that you can use many times a day when you feel yourself having a rise in emotion and a decline in intelligence, because when emotion goes up, intelligence goes down most often. Pause, just pause, breathe for just even 60 seconds, or take just a few deep breaths. Pause, feel yourself come to presence, and then be in a state where you can make decisions in coherence with your heart and your mind, decisions that are going to create less collateral damage and that you'll be proud of later. So, with that, oh my gosh, thanks for joining us on Living Courageously Exposed and enjoying a little breathing with us. I'm so excited to bring our guest, the Sugar Freedom Coach, online with us today, Karen Sammer. I think I'm saying her last name correctly. She's shaking. She gave me the heads up. I love that. I love it when I do it right. So what I know about Karen is she is a plethora of knowledge when it comes to eating and food and sugar, and she has her own journey, and she has a new book out called Crush Cravings Before Diabetes Crushes You. It's been kind of fun to watch this journey, and we'll give you a place that you can find all of that later. But for right now, let's bring on Karen. She's getting her own countdown, and here she is.
Here
Karen Sammer, the Sugar Freedom Coach. I love that, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
How did that come about, the Sugar Freedom Coach?
Well, I was playing around with a lot of different things to kind of summarize what I do. I mean, the biggest thing that I do is to help people break free of their addiction to sugar. And once you do that, the world is yours. I mean, you can do anything. It's really about gaining control of what goes into your mouth. And the only way that's going to happen is if you don't have the cravings that come along with the sugar addiction that many people, if not most people, have.
And I would agree with you. And like, it's one of the most addictive, rough addictions that a person can have. I mean, more than heroin or cocaine, a lot of studies show.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, I'm excited to get into that. Is there anything by way of like getting to know you before I ask my first question? I know you have a bunch of, I call it alphabet soup after your name.
I do.
Did you want to like let us know what those alphabets mean right now, or do you want to wait till farther in the conversation?
I'm happy to tell you now, and that way the curiosity will be satisfied.
Oh.
So I am a National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. So NBC-HWC has nothing to do with NBC television network. It's so many people have asked me that. So it's National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. And then there's a comma, and there's a CNC, which is Certified Nutritional Consultant. That just shows you that I went to school for way longer than I probably should have to make sure that I knew what I was doing. And
right. Well, having some health coach certifications myself, I respect all the schooling that you've done.
Thank you.
I love it. And but even more than the schooling, just the life journey that we're about to find out about that also took you to that alphabet soup, and to have that schooling and what's brought you to writing the book and having the courses and being where you're at now. So, oh my gosh, we'll make our way there. So the first question is, what was Karen like as a kid? It's kind of two parts. And what did you want to be when you grew up?
What was I like as a kid? Well, if you would talk to my siblings, I have several siblings. If you talk to them, they probably tell you I was bossy. I'm one of five, so I'm the oldest of five.
Okay. Okay.
And
Hello, oldest children. Whoop, 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 whoop.
we are the best, we are the best.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
And so I would imagine they would classify me as bossy. But I don't know. It's hard to. It's been a long time since I was a kid, right? A long time.
Right. Which is part of what I teach. Like, be a kid every day. Like, get your kid on.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of what you do. Maybe you just don't recognize it.
I do more now because I have a grandson who's 5 years old, and so I love seeing the world from through his eyes. But for me, it's been a long time. Seriously, I really, as a kid, I was a chatty kid. Busybody, chatty.
Oh, busybody.
Yeah, I was in everybody's business. But probably a little shy. I didn't have a lot of friends, but I was a little shy. I'm a lot less so now. But it was, I was fairly introverted when I was a kid.
Awesome. And so what did you want to be when you grew up?
I never in a million years would have thought I would have ended up here as a health coach. I never in a million years. But
I hear that so often.
Yeah, it's just you never know where the universe is going to lead you, right? But
right.
So what did I want to be when I grew up? There was sometimes I wanted to be a teacher, sometimes I wanted to be a nurse, but then I didn't like when people got hurt and I had to see the blood and all the stuff that went along with it. So that went away pretty quickly. Then I ended up actually becoming an accountant, which is it was because it was a safe way to make a living.
Sure.
And, for 30 years, I was a tax accountant, and I worked in a big company, but it just was never my passion. So really, as a kid, I'm not, helping people, teaching people, I think was really something that I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure how to go about it. And now that's really what I do now is I help people to kind of explore what's best for them. And
isn't that cool how we have an idea of like what we want to do and we think it's going to be in this way, and then we take these winding paths and somehow we end up doing kind of that thing, but in ways we just had no clue of, or the journey that would take us to that place. I love that. Again, I hear that really often as well.
Yeah.
So what were your like junior high school years like for you?
Awkward. They were very awkward and uncomfortable. There's a lot going on in my life. My mom died when I was a junior in high school. And as the oldest of five, I had to take on a pretty prominent role in my family.
Yeah.
So, high school and junior high, they weren't really pleasant times. And quite honestly, I don't remember a lot of when I was a kid. I have to actually ask my siblings sometimes about things, or they'll remember events that I have no recollection of. So there's a lot of my childhood that I kind of in the back.
So that's I appreciate that. I think also that a lot of people can answer like that. There's a lot of things in my world too that I'm like, I just don't feel like I'm remembering very well what that period was like. I have an idea of why that is for me. So it brings me a curious question of like, why do you think or feel like you don't remember those chunks of time or what it was like back then?
There was a lot of trauma in my life.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that I'm sure I've buried that. And there was a lot of unpleasantness and so I think that's, it's just things were happening that I'm probably safer not remembering.
Sure.
That makes sense. Yeah. And
sure. So I'm gonna ask this question and you can answer it or not. Because you say there was a lot of like challenging things and even describing it as trauma. How if you remember, how do you feel like you moved through that as a kid or in that time period, or do you remember? Because we're going to have people listening to this stuff, which I believe leads to right into what you do now, the sugar addictions, the food addictions, all of the addictions. how do you felt like you managed through that, or did you have any kind of tools? Like what got you through that tough stuff?
I did not have the tools at the time. I ended up being able to sort of escape what was happening by either, at the time I was starting to work outside of my home. So I was able
Yeah,
to, I had a job. I, hung out with people maybe who were probably not the best influence on me, but
sure.
I managed to cope. I coped. I don't know that yeah, I coped. I got through what I needed to get through. And then things just kind of, I don't even know. They kind of evolved, and the trauma sort of fell away. But there was a lot of leftover crap.
Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about coping, because again, that's something that we all do,
yeah.
and at various times in our lives or for large portions of our lives. Like, what was the and before we get into that, I just want to say thank you for your vulnerability in this, um and being willing to talk about it, so that we kick the door open for other people who are like, oh, I just don't ugh. And also to be like, yeah, this is someone I want to work with because she's willing to be real with her
Oh,
shiz.
I'm quite real.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit about the coping. Like, what was that for you? You said you hung out with people who maybe weren't the best, and what did coping look like for you? And there's a question like, what were maybe the feelings that came with that coping?
Numbing. So numbing was
Ooh,
important, right?
ooh, that's a
That's
good
how
one.
I was able to numb myself. But I was making bad choices. I was a heavy smoker, cigarette smoker
Okay.
for many years. I quit smoking 40 years ago, but prior to that, I was a pretty heavy smoker as a
Yeah.
young person. I ate terribly. I ate really bad things late at night. I'd be a sneaky food eater at night.
What did you just call it?
A sneaky food eater, as somebody who was like a night crawler. You go around the
I love
kitchen.
it. I thought you said a sneaky poo eater. I was like,
No, no,
what?
no, food. No, 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 no.
Okay,
I didn't get that
a
bad.
sneaky food eater, right?
Yes,
So
yeah,
closeted
yeah,
in
yeah. For sure, closeted in my choices of food, and I was drinking I was drinking. So when I was a kid, the drinking age was 18. So I was out of high school when I was allowed to
oh,
drink. But at 18 years old, your brain is still developing, and I was not. I was making poor decisions and adding alcohol on top of that. So all of these things led to maybe less than a healthy body and a healthy mindset. It was all very unhealthy. Everything that was going on in my life led to a very unhealthy kind of existence, and that
yeah.
went on for many years.
Did you recognize at that stage of life, and in that time period, that what you were doing was unhealthy, or was it just like what you did and it was just normal? Was it cool with the people you're hanging out with? Like, did you recognize it as unhealthy? Like, oh my gosh, I really got to change this, or just like, this is just what it is. This is just what I do.
Yes, that's what I was. I did not recognize it as unhealthy because it was just really my way of making myself feel better. Because if I did not numb myself, I felt the stuff that went on in my life. I felt loneliness. I felt out of kind of out of step. I felt like, because at that point, after I got out of high school, I was kind of isolated. I actually got involved with a guy for 4 years. I was involved with a man who was older than me, and was very he was controlling, but not he was controlling. He wanted to isolate me from my family and from my friends.
Oh,
So for
that's
four
rough.
years, yeah, and for 4 years I was with this person. Then after that relationship went away, there was nobody left in my life. I mean, my family was there, but my friends were gone. They'd
Right.
all gone off, and I had no friends, and so then for a few years after that, I really didn't have anything. I had no real life. I mean, I just kind of was bumbling along. I was working and living at home with my father at the time, and it was just really, I was existing. And so my solace, my friend, was food, was alcohol, and I didn't drink so much then. I started drinking again later in another unhealthy relationship.
Right.
Clearly, I didn't learn from the first one. I had to go into another one. And
I love that statement though, because how many of us, and that's the thing, like we keep getting the lesson until we learn it, and we're going to get it with different people or in different places. Like until we figure it out on the inside, we're going to keep getting it. So I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely. And that goes with everything, right? If you're not getting what life is trying to teach you, you're going to keep reliving that Groundhog Day thing where you're going to keep reliving that experience in different forms and with different people. And so next relationship was lousy, and that was just, and then when that broke up, I was actually quite relieved when that broke up. But I just feel like every time I left a relationship, there was this emptiness because they were making me whole, right? Because I felt like, I guess I wasn't feeling like a whole person.
Making you whole, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
and again,
a-hole, A-H-O-L-E. But
yeah. and how often many of us feel like our wholeness comes by having another person.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't. Newsflash, it does not. Your wholeness is yourself. Yeah. Your wholeness is right here. You are everything you need to be. But it's a hard lesson to learn, right? It's a difficult lesson to learn, and it takes a long time for you to figure it out sometimes.
Yeah.
You have therapy. I kind of dabbled in therapy from time to time, but
okay.
I never really delved into it too much, but I did learn a lot of things along the way as I got older, and I finally found a person who doesn't want to control me, who doesn't who doesn't complete me because I'm complete on my own, as you are.
Oh my gosh! Wait, will you say that again?
Yes, I am complete on my own, as are you, as are everybody. Everybody is on their own. You don't need another person to complete you.
I love it. Leah, will you make sure that one gets in the comments? I just want to say thanks to Leah, who's behind the scenes today, typing in some of our highlights. You are whole just as you are.
Yeah.
And what a concept.
But so many people don't believe that, right? Some people feel like they need another human being to make them complete. And that's
well, do you feel like we're taught that? Or that it's just something that we pick up from? I mean, we are taught that, whether we're taught it intentionally or we just pick it up from watching. Or
do I think so? I do think yes, as you said, I don't think it's intentional that we're taught that. As one thing, my father had a lot of flaws, but one thing he instilled in us is be independent, be financially independent, and he made it because my mother was not financially independent, and that didn't go well for her. But it's so always, like, I don't have to rely on anybody else. I'm not rich, but I don't have to rely on anybody else to support me, because that was always important to me, that I had to be fully functional on my own.
Wow, that is such a beautiful concept, because I know from experience that not everybody's taught that.
Yeah.
In my case, again, whether it was intentional or just picked up from how I viewed things or what my impression of things were, is that I had to have a person, specifically a man, and that's what made me okay. And that I could get an education, but the education was more for get an education in case your husband can't work, or heaven forbid he should pass, or you get divorced or whatever, and then you need to work. That's how I was taught that, and it's taken a long time. In fact, even still, I have threads of that torment me and mess with my worth and value, and like what I feel like I can bring in and how I care for myself.
And you always still go back to that. There has to be that other person to kind of pull me up and bring me, make me complete, right? And it's just
and it's so wild, because it's this battle inside my head and inside my heart, because I know inside I know the truth of that, but that belief system, that played out for so long, just some of it, you think you got it all rooted out, and then it's like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So I have a question in regards to, like you said, you found someone who, I'm trying to remember how you said it. someone who didn't want to control you,
Yeah.
who believed, like, what was that like after being in relationships? Like, what was your mental state and your emotional state of like, wait a minute, you mean, you know, like, what was that like for you? Were you in a space to accept that? How did you come to be in this relationship in a healthy way?
So I was the first relationship I've had. I mean, there haven't been a ton of them, but there was the first relationship I had where I felt like I could breathe, and it was really
Oh,
because I didn't feel stifled. I didn't feel like somebody else has to approve of my decisions or I didn't feel like I had to worry about what he thought of my decisions or
right.
what I'm doing. And that was like,
That's really stifling.
yeah, 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 it is. And but when you're feeling that, you don't realize that. You don't realize that stifling is happening until it's not there. Right? Because if that is all you know, and you just think that that's kind of the way things are, and then it's not there anymore, it's like this gigantic cloud. It was interesting. It was just an interesting dynamic because I've been married to my husband for, I don't know, 27 years. I can't even remember. He could tell you how long we've been together.
Right? Congratulations.
But we dated for 5 years before that. You know, like it wasn't quick. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but this felt like a relation, unlike any other relationship I ever had. And we have our differences. Obviously, everybody does. Nobody's there. No relationship is perfect.
Right. Right. Well, and you don't want it to be exactly the same. That would be kind of boring. Like, people think that that's how they want it, but the reality is that would be so boring. It's kind of like people are like, I want a life like this. And I'm like, if it's like this, you're dead.
Yeah.
Flatline is dead.
Exactly. Nobody wants that. No, at least I don't. I don't want that. Yeah. So that's the feeling of being able to just kind of be and do. And if you read in my book, if you read my dedication, I think it's there. Yeah, it's the dedication. I dedicated my book to my family, and it's really my husband. My husband puts up with all my harebrained ideas. And he may think they're harebrained, and he'll let me know that, but he doesn't ever try to stop me. Not that he
right,
could, but he never tries to stop me. And that there's that freedom is just, but it's a safety too. Like you have this sort of safe place to land, but you're free to fly. It's just really,
right.
it feels good. It's a good feeling to have, and everybody needs a relationship.
Well, I fully agree, and I'm getting to experience that now in mine, and which I haven't before, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, whoa, I didn't realize that how I felt was how I felt until I didn't feel it, or I felt something different. And that freedom, and to just express how you need to express. And I love that you're like, he's a supporter of my harebrained ideas, because harebrained ideas are amazing, but they don't all take flight. And sometimes you do need a soft place to land, or just a place where they're just going to scoop you up and be like, yeah, it's okay. What's the next one? Like, what are you going to do next?
Yeah. Yeah. What stupid thing you're gonna be up to next? But yeah,
really, what are you going to rope me into?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's a good place to be. It just feels much more secure. And I think that some of that has provided me with, like I said, that kind of safety net that allows me to do what I want to do and do it fearlessly.
Yeah. How do you feel like you, what's that question like? I feel the question. When you haven't had that kind of safety or self-expression, being able to just be yourself, we often have a tendency to fight against it, or to fight against the person who is like giving it to us and saying, wow, we think you're amazing and go for it. And but those injured parts of us, and we all do it, just want to fight out in whatever ways, whether we're having a tantrum, or we're like, no, I'm not doing that, or I'm going to be a sauce pot, or how do you feel like you overcame, like, what was that expression for you? Like, how do you feel like you fought out against like, whoa, I can actually be myself. And how did you settle into like, whoa, I get to just be myself?
Well, it's interesting that you say about fighting, because when you're in that position, that person is a safe space. Well, who are you going to take out your frustrations on? Is that person
The,
who's going to be there for you unconditionally, right?
yes,
That poor sucker, it just gets beat up, when you're having a moment, or when you're in a bad mood, or you're having whatever's going on. That person is going to be the one that's going to receive the brunt of it often, because of the safety that you feel. Because
right.
I mean, I have done not I have when I've been in other unsafe relationships, or what I would consider unsafe or
Yeah.
insecure relationships. Yeah, we're unsafe in that I felt
Ooh,
physically, or
I like that in the insecure.
insecure relationships, like because I was always concerned about, well, how is this going to affect my relationship with this individual, whoever
Sure,
this person was.
sure.
And so I was always walking on eggshells. I felt like, and they could have been self-imposed. That person
Right,
may not have even thought about any of that stuff.
right.
But I don't have that. I don't feel like I'm walking on eggshells anymore. I can be myself. I can just be who I am, and the liberation of that is incredible. It's incredible. It's Nobody should settle for a relationship less than that. You're
I,
much
I,
better off being alone than you are being in a relationship where you don't feel like you can be totally you. And so,
Agreed.
um, that fighting, or that pushing back, often happens with the person that you feel the most comfortable with. So I didn't do that kind of thing in those other relationships. So now my husband
Interesting.
has to put up with all of my BS.
Interesting. Well, and I, when you're on the other end of it too, it's like it's very like, so this is a shout out to all of us who get to be on the other end of it at some point or another. This is what I love about the relationships we're talking about, is it really is that give and take, and knowing that we're both going to be in those places at some point or another, or something's going to like touch a tender spot, and we'll be like, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
But kudos to those who recognize, like, for myself, like what it punches in me and my own insecurities still, and how I respond or react. And kudos to your husband for helping create that, and probably having you look at his own shiz and be like, whoa, oh,
We both have plenty to look at ourselves, right?
right.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the thing to remember here, is like, we get in relationship with people who are going to teach us what we want to learn, but it's that unsafe versus safe relationship. And how do you feel inside your relationship? And are you both willing to work on yourselves
Hmm.
in order to have the healthy relationship?
Yeah, and that takes a lot of courage, I think, too. When you
Oh,
start working on yourself, you have to dig up a lot of bones, and they're not always pretty. It's not always
right.
to look at. Yeah, but
Yeah.
but it is
Some of
important.
those skeletons and monsters are like, ugh,
Yeah,
ugh.
yeah,
Yeah. I recently have been looking at some things, and I say to Leah, like, oh, I don't even want to say this stuff out loud, but I know the value of saying it to another person,
yeah.
someone who's safe, and your vault person. Brene Brown calls it your vault people. Um,
Love Brene.
just what?
Yeah,
What?
she's great. Yeah,
It's good. I love her work.
yeah.
Um, but just that, being able to speak it out loud.
Hmm.
And so, for those of you who are listening, this is us saying it's okay to speak your hurt out loud. But remember to do it with a person who you actually feel safe with, and who's going to just listen and hold space, and maybe give perspective versus try and solve.
Yeah. You made me think of something. Shame lives in the dark. Shame
Oh,
thrives in the dark, right?
right?
So you have these feelings of shame, and not wanting to expose yourself to the world, because of you're worried about judgment, or how you're going to be perceived.
Yeah.
But the more you let that fester in the dark, it just becomes this
Oh, it's just,
awful, disgusting amoeba that just absorbs you, right?
Right.
When you let the light in, it makes it dissolve. It
Right.
can make
I just saw it like shrivel, like
it exactly like the witch in the Wizard of Oz, right? You pour water on it and it goes away. And
yeah,
and that's the thing. You shed light on it, as long as you're shedding light on it with somebody that you're safe with, that you feel comfortable and safe and loved by, or just comfortable and safe with, that you know that you don't even necessarily, it could be a therapist, somebody who's going to
yeah.
hold space for you. And, but then you let the light shine on it, and it's not as big as you thought it was, because you built it up to be this awful thing.
Right.
Right.
That right there. Like we
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to be this, like I see this big, like pustule sore on us. And when we cut it open, it's just going to be this like gross. And you know what? It can be, but I love that you just said it's most often not as big or grotesque as we've made it to be
Yeah.
as it
Right.
inside of ourselves, just
Yeah.
festering. And
Yeah, exactly.
I love that piece. There is so much value in knowing how to speak and normalize. This is what I say. Let's normalize being human and the whole spectrum of human emotions, and that we get to feel them all, because that's part of being alive.
Yeah.
We don't. I yeah. There's a lot of things out there that tell us they can make us better or they can help us be happier and all. And the reality is, just feel. Just let yourself feel, and then speak those feelings. Like, you'll be amazed. You'll be
Mm-hmm.
amazed at where that.
Absolutely. And it's, even if it's not received, I feel like even if it's not received favorably or positively on the other side, just the act of verbalizing, or just
Yeah.
letting the air in, letting it out, let it be hit with the air, it can dissolve a lot of the negativity that's around it, right? And it can give you a sense of power. It can empower you.
Oh,
I just feel like,
you're getting to use your voice.
yes.
You're getting to own how you feel, even if it's like those, just like, I don't love feeling this way, but this is how I'm feeling. And you speak you're right. There's so much power in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. The last couple of days, I don't know about you. I was feeling things. I know Leah was feeling things. We had another friend call us who was like, wow, I've just had a day. There's been so much. I just think energetically, there's a lot of stuff going on, and we're all feeling a lot of shiz. I mean, we're in a period of change where we're having to let go, or being forced to let go.
Yeah.
And I remember saying things yesterday to Leah, like, I don't like how I'm feeling, and I'm wanting to judge it. And I'm doing my best to just sit with it and feel it out and speak it so that it has room to move, instead of that festering. And just noticing, like, the feeling stuck with me most of the day, but it lessened. It lessened when I could actually just move it through speaking and acknowledgement and making it normal, as part of the human emotional spectrum. And you know what? And today's a new day. I woke up, that those feelings are gone. They just needed to move through, I guess. And I don't know about you. My brain and personality is like, but I want to know what's going on. And the reality is, we don't
Me
have
too.
to. How do you feel about that?
I am the same way. I have to be able to put a label on things. I think it's a security thing. You have to be. If I
Yeah.
can identify it, then I can do something about it. But if I can't call it something, how can I fix it? I'm a fixer. How can I fix it?
Right.
I'm
And the
so,
reality is, we don't have to fix it.
exactly.
We
It
just
just
feel
has to be. Yeah. It just has to be. It has to. You allow it to be. You allow it to be there. Then if you let it move through you, as you said, it will dissipate. It will eventually dissipate. But you don't have to name it. You don't have to name it. It could just be that you woke up with 5 minutes less sleep than you needed. And it, because I don't know about you, but when I haven't slept enough,
it.
who knows what could happen. You don't even want to be around me, when I
Yeah.
haven't slept enough. I mean, that's just a simple, thing, but it could have been atmospheric pressure. It could have been, you had a memory, you had a bad dream, and you didn't even remember it, but you just
Say
remember.
dreams or
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, because I've done
Just
that
little
where I don't
little
necessarily remember it, but it weighs on me very heavily the next day.
yeah. I remember saying that, like, I don't know if I don't remember my dream. I know I dreamt my dreams. I may have traveled somewhere in my dreams. Like, um, yeah, it's the trusting.
Yeah,
It's the trusting of all that to move through without having to name it
yeah,
or blame it.
yeah,
And to just trust, like, it can just move through peacefully
yeah.
if we will just sit with it and trust it.
Well, yes, and you can help it move through. I mean, you when you start moving your body and
That
opening up, like just allowing yourself to breathe and stretching and just allowing everything to kind of flow the way it's supposed to. That'll help it to move, rather than, if you sit all like this and you're all bunched up and you're holding it in, it may take it longer to happen.
right, you're holding the shame and guilt pose.
Yeah,
I
exactly. Yes.
Tuesdays are my adventure days, and I fought, like, I had internal battle about going outside yesterday. I wanted to go outside. I wanted to go move. I felt tiredness in my body.
Hmm.
And so I also felt the impression of, like, let your adventure be the more quiet adventure today. Clean out the spaces, let things, but I wanted to go outside, and I finally drug myself out, and I didn't drag myself out. It was like, it's time to go. But I just changed up. I can't think of the word that I just changed up what I was going to do,
Hmm.
and I didn't push too hard. I walked some hills. I felt my body, and I love that piece right there. Is like, when I'm coaching, there's always movement
Yeah,
involved, because this thing is the slowest thing to learn things. And if we can, I love that you brought that up. If we can move, it just helps it.
helps
It just helps it
helps it
all.
to flow, because your body is meant to flow. Your body's meant to move.
Yeah.
Your breathing exercise at the beginning. I do that with my clients all the time.
Oh, I
Just to
love it.
center. And you can literally, if you have a group that you're doing that with, you can literally feel the energy,
Right.
because they come in all electrified. Like they're all like this. You bring them down a couple of notches just to ground them, and it's amazing the difference. It's just amazing. But
So
same
cool.
with your body. Like moving your body and allowing that energy to just flow through you and out of you.
And
And
out. Yes.
yeah. And I think
Um,
that you're pushing yourself to go out yesterday was the best thing you could have done, because you could have
I,
sat with it in the house, but
I agree.
it might have
And
just,
there was part of me that wanted to.
yeah. And you should, and good that you did, and you moved, and good that you kind of didn't sit in. Maybe you sat for a little while, until
Yeah.
it was time to get up and move and go outside. But that really is what you need: the fresh air, and communing with nature, grounding yourself outside. I mean, that's what's
It's beautiful. Um, oh, I'm like, they're coming in slowly. Leah, will you make sure you put in there, like, move your body, ground, let emotions move through you. Um,
She's asking a question: how do you work through emotional eating?
yeah, she's sticking that in the comments. So if you're listening to this, like, let us know, how is it that you move through emotionally, and maybe she's reminding me to ask you that,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm getting to.
Yeah.
So talking about movement and emotions and these challenging things that, the coping mechanisms, the unhealthy relationships, the unhealthy living just inside yourself. What was that shift for you? What was that pivot point that you're like, something's got to give, or something's got to give, like, and that then put you on this path of where you're currently at?
Breast cancer.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a big
It gets your
pivot.
attention every time.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I wouldn't recommend it for any of you, but
Do not. I do not. I highly don't recommend it. So, you get the nudges. You get the nudges through your life. My blood pressure was up. My cholesterol was up. My blood sugar was wonky. All of the things. I was extremely overweight. I was
okay.
highly stressed. I was raising 2 kids with, running a house, working full time in a high stress job. all the things that added up to
Lots of comorbidities.
yes, absolutely. And I found out through a routine mammogram that I had breast cancer, and it was an aggressive form of breast cancer. So
Okay, dang.
had to be dealt with, right? And at
What
that
what was that like for you in that moment of like all of this stuff that you're experiencing that feels pretty heavy and weighty, and you said you were heavy and carrying actual physical weight on top of everything else, to have that, like what was that like in that moment? Was it like just another like, ah, oh, God hates me, or was it like, oh my gosh, this is my sign?
Yeah, that so when it first happened, I mean, you can't imagine. I can tell you exactly where I was. It was Christmas Eve. I was in a parking lot. I was walking out. I was doing some last minute shopping. Phone rings. It's the doctor's office, and they said it was malignant, and I almost dropped to my knees in the parking lot. And it was the most profound feeling. I didn't know what to do with that. And then so you're talking this Christmas Eve. I can't talk to anybody like a doctor or anything like that until after Christmas.
Oh,
And
I'm like, what a Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Like that was bad timing.
Exactly. And so yeah, it was horrible. But you know, in their defense, I had initiated the call. I had called.
Gotcha.
They called me back.
Sure.
Because
sure. You want to know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not one to wait because I was given the option of waiting 6 months and then having a biopsy. And there's no way, there is no freaking way I would have waited 6 months and been able to function to find out if I had something. And a good thing I did, because the surgeon actually told me I saved my own life. Because had I waited 6 months because of the type of cancer it would have been a much different story. So, so the stars aligned for me, for sure, because they caught it early. I went through conventional treatment, which is awful, but I also knew that I needed to do something. This was so the subtle hints along the way where my numbers were all elevated, right? But I did nothing about that. It wasn't.
So you knew they were elevated then.
Yeah, I knew that. Okay. You know,
but that wasn't enough of a wake up call for you
nope,
at that point. Okay.
And so I was always going to deal with it some other time. I was going to start my diet tomorrow. Always start my diet tomorrow.
I'll wait till Monday.
Yeah, wait, Monday. Monday's always a good day. So, but then this hits, you know, the breast cancer hits, and then I realized I need to do something drastic now. I need to, because you know, this ship has sailed. I've already got the cancer, but I got to do something so that I'm here to continue raising my kids. My kids were teenagers, and so I needed to finish the job. And that's when I decided to really take my health into my own hands. Did some research, found out that sugar feeds cancer.
Amen. Yes, it does.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's like, yeah, it's a banquet for cancer cells.
It feeds so many things, but definitely.
But for sure, cancer, you know, that was focused on cancer. And yes, it feeds inflammation, which is the basis of almost every disease in your body. It feeds, it sugar feeds all of the things that you don't want. Causes arthritis.
They put it in so many things to keep us sick.
Don't get me started.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
I'm going to say we could have a whole nother conversation about this, and maybe we probably will at some point.
Yeah.
But for those of you who want to know more, because we're not going to go in huge depth in this, we're going to talk about it. Like go read Karen's book. We'll let you know where to get it. If you want some coaching, like we'll let you know how to find Karen. Okay, keep going.
So, yeah, so I decided to take my health into my own hands. I did go through conventional treatment, so I don't, I did do what I had to do. But I lost 135 pounds. And so I eliminated processed sugar from my diet. And I'll tell you, just by doing that, that was such a game changer for me. Because first of all, I was not one, I had plenty of time to reflect when I was sick. I was sick for 6 months. I was, so I had plenty of time to reflect. At no point did I ever say, why me? I knew damn well why me.
Right?
I knew damn well why me. It was the way I lived, the way I ate, the way I slept or didn't sleep, just the things that I was consuming, whether it was, stress.
Will you say that again? Because I think it's so important for people to hear, like, that our choices actually help facilitate some of this. And it's not just this random.
Right.
It's not just a random thing.
No.
So why did you know that? You said you knew why because
I was eating terribly. I was not sleeping well. I was under a tremendous amount of stress. I was not living a good life. I was not moving my body. I was none
which
of the
oxygenates the body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was consuming processed food, quick energy stuff, drinking a lot of coffee, eating sweets. Like somebody have a candy dish on their desk. How many times would I go past that desk every day and take a piece of candy?
Right.
All that stuff. I knew exactly what happened. I was very complicit in my disease. And
wow.
so for me, if I could influence that disease, I could also influence my health. Right. So that's an empowering.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have the control. I have somewhat, I live in an area where there's a lot of cancer, like I live in New Jersey and there's a lot of chemicals around here. And, but there are certain things that I can't control.
Right.
What I can control is what I put between my teeth.
Well, and this is the piece I think, I don't know if you talk about this with your clients. It's always mind boggling to me. We are always renewing.
Yeah.
We are always becoming new. And it's a matter of, are we helping our bodies renew, or are we doing the stuff that's going to destroy and break down what's trying to renew? Like we can be a new person every
7 years, I think, right?
7 years. Yeah. Like different parts of us regenerate and renew. And every 7 years we get to be a new person if we choose to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? I partake of my sweets. Like I allow myself to have that stuff, but I try to do my best to be mindful of what I'm taking. And sometimes I suck at it. Let's be real.
Well, you're a human being.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. What?
You are a flawed human being, as everybody else is. Right? But
yeah, I like to say perfectly flawed.
Yeah. We all are perfectly flawed.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful experience when we can finally start to look at it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and how boring would it be if we were all really good at what we do all the time?
Right?
Crazy. But
no one would want to hang around us.
No, exactly. No, because there are so many things about your life that you can control, and about what you do and how you manage your body, how you take care of yourself. There's so
right here.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and so to me, rather than I can't do anything about this, or oh, why me? That is so disempowering. That's so victimizing. That's so.
Amen.
And I'm not a victim. I don't want to be a victim. I'm a victor over my disease, over that disease. It's not my disease. It's that disease. So I'm a victor.
I love that you just said that. Will you repeat that?
That was not my disease. It was the disease. Yeah. I don't own it. I don't.
How? Because I think people say that they take ownership of what's happening to them or inside of their bodies instead of saying there's this thing going on.
Yep. Yeah. Because then again, it victimizes you. I think it just, if you allow that to be part of you, who you are, what defines you. Now it's defined. What it has done is it has influenced my path.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Had I not done that, had that not happened, I may actually not even be here still, right? Because I was on a path of self-destruction.
Yeah. Well, I like that you're here and that you found that pivot and the desire and will to be like, it's not that you're better than this, but I can make better choices. I can make healthier choices for my life and put myself in a different direction. Like, what is it that I want from this life?
Mm-hmm.
I can go back to that one, which looks like is going to put me in the ground, or I can go here, which I don't even really know where that one's going to take me, but I choose this.
Yeah, exactly. You know what the other one's going to do, right? This one, at least you have a shot. You have a shot at the life.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's amazing to me because even at that time, when I was changing my own self, my own life and my own choices and what have you, it never in a million years would have occurred to me to do what I do now. I was still going to do, taxes. I was still going to be, running a, section of the tax department, and
adding to the stress and of the dis-ease.
Exactly. And probably inviting more in. Right. And so I did continue working in that job for 10 more years, but fortunately they were very kind and they put me in a position that was much less stressful and didn't have
Awesome.
staff. I didn't have to deal with staff anymore, which was really a good thing. And so it really, everything sort of lined up for me to do what I currently do. And then,
Okay, and that right there, I love that point that you just made, kind of inadvertently, of like, I started taking the steps, like this thing was presented to me, I had a choice, I started taking the steps, and then things started aligning.
yeah, yeah,
That piece sometimes for me, like I feel like that's what I was feeling yesterday, is just that, we're human. We get in those moments of like, it wasn't necessarily poor me, but it's like, how are things going to change? And I'm ready for things to just like, good heavens, God, show me the way, or give me a win, or even when things are amazing, it's so easy for us to have moments of those old feelings and that releasing.
yeah,
But then to remember, like taking the steps, things will fall into place.
yeah, exactly.
The trusting of that.
You have to allow that to happen, and you have to be open to it. You have to be open
That.
to seeing that, like what, like that. I could have said that, breast cancer just completely knocked me off the rails, right? And it didn't. It actually set me on the right path.
I love it.
It put me
It's
where
so beautiful.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a lifesaver for me, quite honestly. Weird as that sound.
Right. Well, and I hear other people who speak similar sentiments when they're able to get their heart and their mind in coherence and in line with each other, and be like, well, I needed a wake-up call. And some of us like need bigger ones than others, and that you're like, this is it. Like, I know what's over there, but I kind of want to know what's over here. And so what was it like for you to start making some of those changes? Because that can be very challenging when we're been on a path for so long, even though we know it can be challenging. So what was that like for you, and how did you just like kind of like the quick journey of like what that is to where you're at today? I know that's a longer story, but
well, I can kind of Reader's Digest it for you. I had to be here to raise my kids. That was the impetus for me. Was my life was being challenged. My life was being threatened. I wasn't going to give in to that. I had to be here to raise my kids. And so what do I have to do to fix that, to make that happen? Is I have to make sure that I'm healthy. And so it made it a little easier for me because I had this life-threatening thing in my face versus somebody who's just kind of feeling like, I got to lose some weight, I'm maybe not with my bathing suit. Yeah. Like, where it's not so threatening. It's not so dire. And so that's what really, the fact that I had to be here for my kids. And then, like I said, the first thing I did was I removed sugar from my diet, that processed sugar. And once I did that, the whole thing was easy. It was so easy for me. And I don't mean to minimize it, because there are so many people that are so addicted to sugar that it's very difficult for them to even perceive.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, they've done studies, and it shows that it's more challenging to remove yourself from than cocaine or heroin. And
you don't need cocaine and heroin to live. You need food to live.
Absolutely.
It's so much more difficult. And if you're eating anything that somebody else has prepared in a factory, damn well it's going to have sugar in it.
Yeah.
Because they got to make it addictive, or they wouldn't stay in business.
So how was it for you? Because when we remove sugar like that from our diet, I tell my clients, like, they're like, how can I do that? I don't like fruits and vegetables, and I don't like things that are supposed to taste good because they don't taste good. But this trusting that your taste buds change and they actually come back to their like natural state of wanting the more nutritious, actually life-giving foods.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you get rid of that junk out of your system, and it takes a few days for it to go away, probably longer than a few days, depending on how toxic you are.
Yeah.
But once you do that, the food's natural flavor comes through. Right now, our taste buds are numb, right? They've been dulled down because of all this chemical crap and these enhanced things.
Kind of like a lot of our beings, we're numbed.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, well, we walk around like zombies a lot, and it's easy to control people that are like that. And
Yeah.
so, but once you once you eliminate that type of food from your body, and I would food, once you
Right.
eliminate those substances from your diet, from your body, and you eat, I ate very very simply. I didn't make anything fancy because I was still working full time, cooking
Yes.
cooking meals for my family. So for me, I was eating.
That's part of it is people think it's hard.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's only hard if you make it hard. If you allow it to be hard. It's very simple. You don't. I would broil a piece of fish, have a salad and a veggie, and the salad would have a homemade dressing on it, which it takes you a nanosecond to make.
Right.
You don't have to buy
And they're
bottles.
so flavorful.
Exactly, exactly. And you could add, and there's so much, and then once you eliminate all that stuff from your system, then you taste the sweetness in the veggies and the fruits, and you probably will like them if you allow your body to adjust and start eating that stuff again. And like you said, you start to crave the nourishing food because now your body is absorbing the nutrients, where you weren't before because you're getting all that, you were gunking up your system with all those chemicals and flavor enhancers and God only knows what else. But
Right.
I mean,
And why are we having to enhance flavor? It's because it's not there in the first place in the processed foods.
Yeah, exactly. And they're putting stuff in that your body doesn't even recognize as food. So what does it do? It stores it in your adipose tissue, right? So it makes you heavy, and it makes it very difficult to lose the weight.
I'm saying for those who don't know what adipose is, it's
fat cells.
Fat.
Yeah, it's your fat cells. And around your belly, the visceral fat, that's the fat that's around your organs that squishes your organs and keeps them from functioning properly and makes it difficult to breathe and makes it difficult to swallow and digest and all of this stuff. That's the most dangerous fat in your body. And that's where it all gets stored. All those chemicals get stored in there. And so once you start to release all of that, get it out of your system, everything changes. It just, your energy goes up and your sleep gets better and you're able to move your body in the world and you're able to function in the world and your clarity of thought is amazing. It's just all of those things. It's just, I'm a little
I'm giggling, like I'm feeling this, like that my own excitement and energy, because this stuff lights me up. Yeah. But I'm like just like giddy with excitement watching you get all excited and talk about this, and we're like at the point where we're like, oh, we have to be done. But this is what I love about this is I wanted to give people the opportunity to get to know you. And why you do what you do, and that you actually have heart and soul in it. It's not just something that you chose to do. And there's a lot of people who in what they do who have heart and soul, and you know the difference. And I wanted you to feel the difference in what Karen's doing. And you just got a really big taste of it right there, that she's had to make these changes in her own world and in her own lived experience, and she has her own knowingness of them. She has her own intelligence of them. It's not just book smarts. This is actual lived experience, and there's really nothing more precious than that. And you are the kind of coach that I would want to hire. And so I'm gonna say this, like, can we do this again and actually let you come on and talk about the stuff inside your book, the stuff inside your courses, without giving it all away, and have a deeper conversation about this, and then let people really feel that excitement from you as well, because that was awesome.
Thank you. I mean, I could, you put me on a stage, you'd have to pull the hook, get the hook out to pull me off of it, because I could talk about this stuff all day long. This stuff is so
I love it. I totally intend to put you on a stage, just FYI.
I'm happy to do it.
All right, totally. So in the comments, Leah has just put in the Crush Cravings Before Diabetes Crushes You, how to balance your blood sugar, lose weight, and avoid diabetes medication. Here. I second that. There's a link in there where you can go and purchase Karen's book. Leah, will you also put in, Karen, you have a website, right?
I do, yeah.
We will know what to put in. You guys just watch the comments. What is your website called?
It's called Your Power, Your Health.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, that's
I
the
like
name
it.
of my business.
And is that how people, like, I emailed you today at an email that has that in it? Is that how people get a hold of you that way?
Yes, they can. If they want to book an appointment, so may I make an offer to for a free consultation? Is that okay?
Ooh, absolutely. You just did. Do it again. Do it again. Let them know.
I want to know. I want them to know how to do that. So if they go on yourpoweryourhealth.com/book, then they can schedule a free consultation with me. And it's very unique to them. We will talk about their specific issues and where they want to be. So where they are, where they want to be. And we'll talk about some action steps to get them there. If they choose to work with me after we have this conversation because they know they can't live without me, that's great.
Right.
If not, at least they'll have some action steps to get them started on their healthy path. So
I love it.
It's time well spent, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would say, go check it out. Leah's put it in the comments. She also reminded us that you have a podcast on Thursdays.
Thursdays, 9:30.
I have not checked out the podcast yet. I'm going to now. Oh my gosh, plethora of knowledge, and not just knowledge. You have wisdom, you have intelligence, and knowing, and there's a difference. The words that I just used, intelligence, knowing, that's all heart. It's all heart based. It comes from living courageously exposed, from actually living life and soaking it in, and then using it to stay more empowered inside of yourself, and to let that just wave out and however that needs to go. So thank you for your story. Thank you for your lived experience. And for how you're sharing and living it now, and presenting that information to other people to make similar choices if they desire to do so.
It's all within their own power. And I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to just spew all of this on you.
It was joyful. And I'm really serious about let's book again. Actually sooner than later. And
sure.
Let's let you go into more detail on all the stuff we were getting excited about at the very end, because it's super exciting. And when you feel
it is to me, yeah.
Right. And when you feel those changes in your life, it's super exciting.
Yeah.
And so I would love to present that opportunity to people as well.
Wonderful.
So
thank you.
Thank you again. Any final, like, what would be 3 words of final wisdom, or that you would leave with our listeners today?
I would say book a call with me. Book a call with me because
you are the first person. I love it. Shameless plug. Book a call with me.
That's right. That's right.
There you go.
I'm all about it. All about it.
All right. And what would your next 2 be?
My next.
So if you were going to do 3 pieces of wisdom, the first one, book a call with you.
Stay hydrated. Get plenty of sleep. Eat your vegetables. I mean, that's.
Ooh, I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Sleep is one of the most underrated commodities in this world.
I full 1000% agree with that. Yeah. Leah and I have this discussion all the time, like around naps and rest. I
love a nap.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, this has been so delightful. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you who have been watching and listening today, whether you're on our YouTube channel or my personal page. We appreciate you. We love you. We would love to hear from you. I know Leah's put a couple questions in the comment section. We'd love to hear your answers, and we'll respond back. And if you like what you see today, please like and comment. Help us grow our channel. Help us continue to bring on amazing guests and their experiences and their knowledge. And if you yourself want to be a guest and you have some amazing experience that we're unaware of, where you live courageously exposed, that's kind of what it feels like sometimes, courageously exposed, hit us up, reach out, let us know, and we would love to have a conversation with you. Remember to keep being amazing, keep checking in with yourself, allowing yourself to be human, and remember, be bold, be courageous, be a rebel. We'll see you soon.